have a real 400 car sit there, I think about 13 years in his garage without being driven. And ended up purchasing the car, and it's still not running. It's been in my garage for about 9 more years.
It's got to be tough. Nowadays, let's say, it's almost a stereotypical instant reaction. LS swap.
The more I looked at it, the more sort of original it is, and I just decided to keep it the way it was, which I'm comfortable with that decision. But that did take me a while to get to that point.
Okay, this is a 1969 Pontiac, and I am with Steve Coppock. Steve, this is your car.
Yes, it is, Barry. I've had it about 9 years now, I think.
The more you tell me about it, the more interesting I realize this car is.
The original owner had it, and my friend bought it. So I think my friend was the second owner, and I consider myself the third owner of this car. The car was originally from Southern California. It was purchased in Monterey Park, California, which is in the Los Angeles area. The car was built in Van Nuys, and the best I can tell, it's never been out of California or Arizona. Incredibly rust-free and original. With the exception of the wheels, somebody put Pontiac Rally 2, they're called, wheels on it. Originally had hubcaps. I didn't do it, but I would have done the same thing. I think the Rally 2s look a lot sportier, I guess is what I would say. It's what's called a Firebird 400. And the 400 was a package. It wasn't just the engine. There were some other things that you got. There's a different hood, which maybe we'll look at here in a minute, that had non-functional scoops on it. It had quite a bit of chrome on the engine, at the top of the air filter, the valve covers, the oil fill cap, things like that. Had a dual exhaust. But this one was what was called the base 400. There was a Ram Air 3 option, which was a little bit higher horsepower, and a Ram Air 4 option, both with the 400 engine, that were available that year. But this one is the base 400.
Okay, now did they all have a 4-barrel carburetor?
Yes, these 400s all had 4-barrel carburetors.
Okay.
Yeah. Got quite a few options, maybe not every option you could get, but it's got air conditioning, power steering, power brakes. It's a bucket seat car with a console. The console was optional. It's got a deluxe steering wheel, which was optional, but not a deluxe interior, which is kind of interesting. And then some lighting, tinted glass in the windshield, things like that.
Okay.
But it is an automatic car, not a 4-speed. With the 400, you got, and you ordered the automatic transmission, you got a turbo 400, the bigger, heavier duty 3-speed automatic at the time. It'd been sitting in my friend's house. He got to where he didn't drive it, and it sat there, I think, about 13 years in his garage without being driven. And ended up purchasing the car, and it's still not running. It's been in my garage for about 9 more years. I think the engine would have run fine, but I made a decision to pull the engine out and go through it because I was trying to get the rest of the car sort of back in shape. You know, all the gaskets and seals and hoses and brake lines, fuel lines. So I had the car radiator out, and I had it pretty close to the engine being ready to come out anyway. So I finally just pulled it out, and since that time I had the transmission rebuilt, and the engine has been machined, and I have all the parts I need to put it back together. And so in the next few months, this engine will be going back together. I got real close to putting a later model engine. I think people call those restomods, where the car essentially looks more or less stock on the outside, but has a late model drivetrain. I was going to convert it to a 5-speed, that transmission right there, a TKO 5-speed. Had a 12-bolt built for it, narrowed for the early F-body cars. And then I just, the more I looked at it, the more sort of original it is, and I just decided to keep it the way it was.
Right.
Which I'm comfortable with that decision. But that did take me a while to get to that point.
Well, I mean, it is. It comes up a lot. I'll just put it that way. It comes up a lot. So we have the 400. Now, if you have maybe the standard 350 or even a 6-cylinder, the LS swap idea gets a little bit more compelling.
Yeah, and to be honest, they're worth more with the late model drivetrains in them.
People want to pay for it.
Yeah, they do. And it used to be originality was like, the more original it was, even the original paint, whatever. Even if it didn't look pristine, that was more valuable than a car that you've done any modifications to.
Right.
These days, and I'm not necessarily a guy that believes in it, but originality is not such a big deal anymore. And so the other side of my head was thinking, yeah, I'll spend all this time putting this back as original as I can, and the next guy that buys it, he's going to take it all out, and, because that's the trend. And,
right.
And I have some experience. I had a 73 Camaro that I owned for almost 30 years, and I did put a LT swap in it, and I think it probably sold for close to twice what it would have without that drivetrain. So from a pure economic standpoint, I think it is smarter to put a late model drivetrain in it. But I really like this car. I really like its history. I like the originality of it. It's the most original old car I've ever had. It's just not been messed with.
Right.
So I'm going to put it back and not mess with it, and I'll drive it for a while and maybe keep it forever. But if I do sell it, that's what I'll be selling, is an original.
You're not going to be the guy that hacked it up.
This one.
Not this.
It doesn't bother me too bad to do it, but this one, it's just so original.
Yeah.
I had already have redone the brakes and a bunch of other stuff underneath. You know, the rear brake drums still have the right casting date to be original to this car. I mean, it's just
amazing.
An original car.
Yeah.
So anyway, I decided to keep it original, and that's the way it's going to be. These are the heads for this engine. There was a little more detective work I had to do, you know, to make sure these were the right heads. So things like, you know, casting dates I looked at. And then right here, this is exhaust port. There's a 6 right here and a 2 right here. So this would be considered a number 62 Pontiac head. And they probably had 20 different cylinder heads, not necessarily 1969, but over the years, maybe more. And that referred to the volume of the combustion chamber, the cc's, typically is cubic centimeters of the combustion chamber, the valve size, and sometimes the port configuration on the head. So for this engine, and I can't remember if we talked about it yet or not, this came with 10 3/4 to 1 compression ratio, 1969.
Whoa, no, we didn't talk about that.
Which is a lot.
That is a lot.
It's a lot even for today. Even though with modern, you know, electronic controls and stuff, 10.5 to 1 to 11 is pushing things. But this cylinder, so this 400, even though it was a base 400, was a pretty hot engine at the time. You know, any V8 with 10 3/4 to 1 compression ratio and a 4-barrel dual exhaust had a little bit of authority at the time, which was really neat, I thought. But so these heads, to get that compression ratio, these 62 part number heads had a 75 cc combustion chamber.
Okay.
Because it's the total volume of the cylinder with the combustion chamber, you know, and then just the combustion chamber volume, that is the compression ratio. That's how you calculate it.
Right.
So this has I'm just going to flip it up here, but this has a 75 cc combustion chamber. I believe these are 2.11 inch intakes, and I think 1.7 something too maybe exhaust valves, which were pretty good size.
Pretty good, yeah.
The Chevrolet, you know, you remember, you always hear about the 202 valves, the 2.02. These are 211. So decent sized valves for the size engine it was, and a small combustion chamber to get that 10 3/4 to 1 compression ratio.
Yeah.
Wow. You hear on Pontiac heads, D-shaped heads, round, and tunnel port. Those are kind of the 3 categories of heads. And these would be called D-port heads. And that's because this looks like a D back to back. You know, one's maybe looks like a normal D, the other one's flipped over. But if you see that shape, that's the D-shaped heads. And probably, I'm going to go out on a limb, 99% of all Pontiac V8 cylinder heads are D-shaped chambers like that. They also made a round port, especially on the, I think they call them the Ram Air 5s, were round ports. So they would be circular, I mean, just like a circle, here, 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 and here. So that's the circle port exhaust heads. And then they also made a tunnel port intake head.
Oh, really?
And I think it was mostly for over-the-counter racing stuff. But they called them tunnel ports because on the intake side, these are the intake ports, but right next to them, that's a push rod. That's a push rod. So what they did is they optimized the location of the intake port, so it was pretty much a straight shot to the valve. So they moved them over, and there's a sleeve that goes in where the push rod comes up right in the middle of the intake port.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you look at them, it's a circle, and you can see a sleeve where the intake push rod is coming up through. They call them tunnel ports because the push rod tunneled through the intake port.
So that's prioritizing airflow over
everything else. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's hard to maybe look down in here with your camera, but it's kind of a torturous path to get down to the intake valve. It's definitely not a straight shot.
Yeah, well, you can even tell from this way, you know that those are going to have to, it's going here, it's taking a turn to get to where it wants to go.
So they move things, but when they did that, they had to deal with the push rod going right through the middle of it. And Ford did that on some of their FE style engines. The 427 Ford had a tunnel port. So these heads are ready to go back on. They are the correct 62 part number for the base 400.
Man, they look like new, brother.
Yep, and they're the right casting date. So I believe these are original to this engine as well. Cylinder on the right side is further forward than the front cylinder on the left side.
Yes, it is. I can see that.
So Pontiac wasn't the only one to do that, but they did it. And right behind us here is a small block Chevy, and on it, this left side is further forward than the right side. And on a Chevrolet, this is cylinder number 1.
Yep.
And then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So on the Pontiac, it's the forwardmost cylinder is not cylinder number 1. It's over here.
That's crazy.
Which is unusual.
That is unusual.
And right behind you is a small block Ford. And if we look at it, the right bank is forward of the left bank, like the Pontiac. But this is cylinder number 1.
They stay with whatever's
typically
first.
The most forward cylinder, no matter which side it's on, typically will be number 1. And then it'll go number 2, 3. On a Ford, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
As far as you know, Pontiac's the one that's done that.
Well,
maybe
they weren't the only ones to put the right bank in front of the left bank.
Yeah.
How they number their cylinders, I don't know of anybody else that does that. So it does confuse people that work on Pontiac engines. If they're not aware of that, they'll end up with the timing all messed up. The spark plug wires run to the wrong cylinder.
Yeah, right?
But it's interesting. Pontiac, interesting architecture, great history and high performance. So I'm happy to have one. I'm happy to sort of preserve one for this car. And as you know, I learn something every time I take one of these apart. I've learned a lot going through this.
Was there anything as far as assembly or disassembly that was kind of interesting or something to look out for that you noticed?
I would say it's pretty standard overall. These days, flat-tappet cams are a problem. Why they're a problem, I don't know that I can tell you. But you put a flat-tappet cam in, you're maybe 50% successful, even trying to do the best, that you don't end up with a flat cam and metal all through the engine.
Right.
And I didn't want to go through all this effort and end up having to take it all back apart because of a flat tappet failure. They never had hydraulic roller cams in it.
Okay.
Small block Chevys, they transitioned through 1987 and went to hydraulic roller cams. In fact, that engine we were just looking at has a hydraulic roller cam in it.
Okay.
So I decided I want to retrofit a hydraulic roller cam into this engine. This is a hydraulic roller lifter.
Okay.
This happens to be for LS Chevy. But one of the things, and it's kind of maybe obvious, these rollers have to stay in one position relative to the cam, because if they turn this way, they wouldn't be rollers anymore.
Not going to work. It'll wipe out real quick.
So these roller lifters, whether it's the LS or just anybody that makes them, there's usually some kind of a anti-rotation device on the lifter.
Yep.
Well, this block was never made for an anti-rotation, and some people use a bar that goes across. There's a little like pin on each lifter so that the lifters can move up and down, but they can't move this way.
Yeah.
The problem with the Pontiac in that is there's a valley cover that goes in here between the intake manifold and the block. Your lifters will hit the valley cover. So, okay, well, you can modify the valley cover. And there are people that make modified valley covers. But the valley cover is also part of the crankcase ventilation system. It's not just a cover, it's PCV valve actually goes into the top of that, and there's some baffles. There's 2 layers in there.
Oh, wow.
And so then you have to deal with, well, now what am I going to do with the crankcase ventilation system, to make this all work? Like that motor and plenty of other motors have they call it a spider. It's a stamped steel piece that bolts down to the block and has these little arms that come off and hold these things, which are called spiders. These are for this engine, but they look similar to Chevy. And so they just sit right on top of there. spider.
Okay.
So it's spring, so it keeps us down, and then the individual lifters keep it from.
So that's enough to keep it from rotating.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this block wasn't made to bolt the spider down either.
Right.
So I chose this guy in Michigan makes these spiders. It is made to hold these in place by grabbing the bottom of this and the top of this and holding them in place, and that keeps the middle free. So
so it keeps the profile down.
can.
Yeah.
So even though it's like, well, that should be easy. I'll put a roller cam in. I'll buy those link bar style lifters, and then you end up with, okay, well now how do I deal with the crankcase ventilation system and all this other stuff? And you just end up in this circle. But I settled on a Comp Cams. It's the smallest hydraulic roller they make for this engine, so I'm not trying to put a rowdy cam or anything in there. I just want a stock profile, but I want hydraulic roller lifters in it to try to avoid the drama of having a failed cam and lifter if I had stayed with the flat tappets.
Right, okay.
So that I spent a fair amount of time learning and reading up on this and making a decision. So I made one, and so this will have a hydraulic roller in it when it goes back together. I can't explain what the problem is, and I haven't run into anybody yet that can explain why we're having this sort of rash of problems with these flat-tappet cams. But it's a problem, and it actually happened to me. I had a big block Chevy with a hydraulic flat-tappet cam in it, and the cam went flat within 50 miles, and the engine had to come back out, had to be completely taken apart. The crank had to be polished, new bearings through the whole engine.
I think it's a massive problem.
Yeah, and because of that. And I put a hydraulic roller back in it, and it worked perfect. So I would say, I lean towards that every chance I can. These valve springs on this head were worn out. But when I went to the hydraulic roller cam, you need different valve springs.
Just for the record, is it a stiffer or looser spring, or what's different?
It's stiffer, yeah. More seat pressure and more open pressure, because this stuff's heavier than the stock stuff. And the ramps are faster. One nice thing about a roller cam, with that roller, you can ramp the valve open really fast and ramp it closed really fast. And to keep it in contact with a cam, you got to have a fairly stiff spring. So then you make a decision over here. I'm going with hydraulic roller. Now you got to deal with the lifters, and then over on the heads, you got to deal with springs and cutting the seat or the seating area on the head. So one decision causes another one sometimes.
Okay, so we have to know how many decisions and parts gathering things are there left before you start?
I would say nothing.
Okay.
I moved them out of the way, but I have everything from the gasket kit to the oil pump.
But not long.
I'm ready.
Good.
Yeah. Look how big that sucker is. And I had it balanced, of course.
Yeah.
Not surprised by that.
No. Wow. To think that's the original crank and it's still the original spec. That is really beautiful. There's some big counterweights there.
Yep.
So I guess you're saying this is such an original car that this chrome, all these trim pieces, this is all original, I guess.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, the paint, I think it's been repainted one time.
Okay.
This is the original color, which is cameo white or ivory, depending on which book you look at. The black interior, to my knowledge, is all original. The seat covers aren't perfect, but they're pretty nice. Dash pad is not cracked, and to my knowledge, it's original as well. Headliner is still very nice.
Wow, you'd have a hard time finding a reproduction headliner that would be that good.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
It's a very original car. The original radio is still in it. The original exhaust system is either still on it or somebody replaced it with General Motors parts, because the muffler, for example, has General Motors and a GM part number on it.
So, okay, so it had the 400 emblem and the kind of the louver style taillights. Those are some giveaways for us. Very nice. Then, of course, let's go ahead and have a look at this hood. Yeah. Safely stored on the roof right at the moment.
Yeah. So you can see the scoops there in the front. They're not functional, as I said, but they're. Yeah. I think that it looks really sharp compared to the more or less stock flat hood.
Absolutely.
And the 400 and the red letters there sure sticks out when it's on the car. It won't get over restored, but it'll get cleaned. I'll take all the wiring in the master cylinder, and I'll take the inner fenders out, and everything will be cleaned up and repainted. The inner fenders, I may actually have them powder coated.
Oh yeah.
The frame will get cleaned up so it looks nice and clean.
Yeah.
I bought replacement brake and fuel lines that I plan to put on, but I don't plan to modify it you know, like the suspension will still be original. I mean, if something needs to be replaced, I'll go through it.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for showing us around. We've learned a lot today.
I appreciate you coming by today. You know, one of the things that happens when you come by is I have to study up. And so I learned a lot just because you're coming, and I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time.
Excellent. Okay, Steve, take care.
Bye.